Okay, now we're going to work on sketching graphs of these. So sketch a graph of each sine function. So we have to write the equation for it first. So if the amplitude's 2 and the period's pi, you need to solve for b. So a lot of people just put b as pi. That's not true because the period is equal to 2 pi over b. So pi is equal to 2 pi over b. So if I multiply both sides by b, I get b pi equals 2 pi. So 2 equals b. And we're also assuming that this is a positive sine function. So I'm going to write y equals 2, because that's my amplitude, sine of 2x, because that's my b value. So to graph it, if I have the amplitude, what I like to do is, my amplitude is 2 and it hasn't been shifted up or down at all, I'm going to make my sine function oscillate between 2 and negative 2. So that means I need to stick in between here and here. And the period is pi. So I'm going to take pi and I'm going to break it up into fourths. Now this is a positive sine function, so it's going to, sine starts at 0, the sine of 0 is 0, and then 2 times the sine of 2 times 0 is going to be 0. So I start at 0, and I go to the max, 0, min, 0. So it looks, that is one cycle. So I'm going to repeat that pattern again. And again. And then I can go the other way, keep it going, so okay. So there's my function. I completed the whole graph. The second one, if I have the amplitude is 3 and the period's 2 pi, remember I have to solve for b. So period equals 2 pi over b. The period's 2 pi. So that means that b has to be 1. So my equation is going to be y equals 3. It's positive because we had to assume a was positive. And then sine of x, 1x, because b is 1. So it's just 1 times x. So again, my amplitude's 3. So I'm going to make this graph go in between 3 and negative 3. And my period is 2 pi. So one cycle is going to go between here and here. And it's already broken up into fourths. 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to start at 0 and do 0, max, 0, min, 0. 0, max, 0. And I'm going to go the other way. Okay, upside down u, or u, upside down u, u, upside down u. So the cycle would be each one of these sections should look the same. Okay, each one of these sections should look the same. And then down here, I'm going to sketch another graph. So just given the equation, the amplitude is going to be 2. The period, remember, is 2 pi over b. So this time I'm given the b. The b is the coefficient of theta. So in this case, b is 1. So 2 pi divided by 1 is just 2 pi. And so I'm going to, and it has not been reflected because this is a positive number. So I'm going to make my amplitude be up 2, down 2. And then my period's 2 pi. And it's already broken up into fourths. And it's positive. So I'm going to go 0, max, 0, min, 0. Okay, and then I'm going to go the other way. All right, for the second one, remember the amplitude always has to be positive, so the amplitude is going to be positive 2. This just tells me it's been reflected over the x-axis. So the period equals 2 pi over b, So the period is 2 pi over 4, which is pi over 2. So the period's pi over 2. And yes, it's been reflected because this is a negative. So I'm going to zoom in on this one because this is a little bit smaller, tighter, with the period being pi over 2. So again, my amplitude's 2. So I'm going to go 2 to negative 2. And then if my period is pi over 2, I have to do one full cycle between all of these green vertical lines. So that means I have to have a 0, max 0, min 0 in this. So what I have to do is remember that this one had a negative, and it's been reflected. So instead of going 0, max 0, min, I have to go 0. I'm going to break this into fourths. I'm lucky I can just zoom in. You can't really do that on your paper. But this is going to go 0, min, 0, max, 0. So a U and then an upside down U. 1, 2, 3. Another one's upside down, or U, upside down U. So it's going down first. Oops, I kind of lost it right there. So it's going to go down first. So you have to, it helps to break the period into fourths, because I think you can be a little neater. See, towards the end, these aren't nearly as neat. But it helps to break it up into fourths and make a nice U on the bottom, upside down U right here. And you can keep going on the left too. Okay, let's look at the last one. So the amplitudes, it has to do with the coefficient, so it's going to be 1. The period is going to be period equals 2 pi over b. So period equals 2 pi over 2, which is pi, and then it's not been reflected. So I'm going to take my amplitude, and then mark off 1 above, 1 below. And then my period is pi. So in between here and here I have to have one cycle. I have to have a max and a min. Now it's a positive sine function, so it's going to open up. So it's going to go up and down, and up and down, and keep it going to the other side. So each one of these cycles should look about the same. You can tell I kind of got a little sloppier on the left. So if the period is pi on this one, I'm going to make sure I go, and that it's not reflected. I'm going to make sure that one cycle looks like this.